Hi everyone, it's Eileen Burns here from the Spiritual Marketing Club, and today I'm going to talk about who is not your ideal client and why that is really important to know, and why it can actually be very empowering in a business and help you maintain healthy boundaries and to stop giving in to clients who do not value or maybe even understand what you're offering or respect even what you're offering or respect your boundaries. So when you are creating a business, the reality is that as healers particularly, and anyone who regards themselves as a light worker or a spiritual entrepreneur, the reality is that we come into this work from a heart-based perspective. We want to support and help others, and we may have a big vision for ourselves, but the reality is that we cannot help everyone, and we're actually not here to help everyone. We are all part of life's jigsaw, and we all have a different part to play, and we have different clients to work with at different times, and we all have a unique journey. Now, I am a typical heart-based business owner who has struggled many times in the past to set healthy boundaries with clients and not to give in to certain types of clients. But it did not serve me. It didn't serve my business, and it certainly did not serve my health, right? So one of the reasons why you need to know who's not your ideal client is so that from the beginning, you're very firm about who you're not here to serve. And then what happens, it stops you starting to do other things for other people that is a waste of your time, energy, and resources, where someone else is not valuing exactly what you're offering. But also, basically, it helps you keep the business model that you need to maintain to survive. I have to hold my hand up and say that my business, many times, particularly in the early years, really struggled to survive. And I've had other dips, even to do with this year. There were certain things that I did, which was I was so focused on helping others that I did not remind myself who was not my ideal client. And it's been a big, sometimes we all have our life lessons, and it's been part of a big life lesson for me. So every single one of you that will be watching this video will have a different level of experience, will have a different client audience. You will all have invested different amounts of money in your training, the time and energy in your training, and these will all be in different financial, different circumstances. So some of you may be doing this alongside a job. You have maybe also a partner and you have security. There is other people who had in this, doing this type of work, and they may be single parents. They may, for whatever reason, only able to commit to a certain amount of time, but they may be struggling and they don't even they're struggling to keep a roof over their heads, because that's the reality. I deal with different types of client. There is a certain type of ideal client and soul client that's more my client, but I do sometimes attract clients who, for whatever reason, are in very challenging situations, right? Now, I also attract a lot of clients who are in good security situations, and they tell me they can't afford. And sometimes it's not that they can't afford something, right? It's they choose not to. And of course, we have to choose what we feel is important to invest in, what we wish to investment. But what can happen is when we have clients that say to us they can't afford, and often healers, because we tend to have most of us very highly empathic, we tend to have very knee-jerk reactions and just want to help a client. But often we're not serving the client for that reason, because one of the things that I learned over and over again, and it was something that took me a long time, it was one of those lessons that I had to keep being bitten, keep repeating the lesson to learn from it, that clients who sometimes say they can't afford, as I said, they can. And there is different ones that will play victim victim mentality to try and hook you in to get you to do some sort of discount, to give it for free, or to give some exchange. And there is some situations where we all, when we see someone is trying really, really hard to improve their situation, we may do things to support them if they are willing to do something else. Now, I'm going to put my hands up and say there's a lot of times in the past that I have offered types of apprenticeship for people for some of my training, right? So what I've done, recognised that a client would maybe really benefit from a training, and I've done some sort of exchange where they came and done some stuff for me and they got training. Some of it proved to be, yes, that the people were appreciative, but other times they were not. So it's a big lesson to me. And I've had, I've had cases where people have asked for some sort of exchange and they believe what they're offering is a great exchange, but in reality, it wasn't that great an exchange for me. Okay. So when you can be specific about who's not your ideal client, you're creating a healthy boundary of what your business stands for, right? So you will all know what I'm talking about because we all attract these sort of circumstances. Well, most of us do, right? Or we can attract people who say, for example, healers, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for healing. Now, that's a completely disrespect for, often it's a disrespect, maybe they don't value themselves in some level, right? But also, obviously that you have to take that and say, well, that's someone not really, in so many levels, you have to really say no. But what I want you to do is really think about the clients for whatever reason. It might be to do with them, them wanting not to spend a certain amount of money. It might be the clients who do not want to do the work and take no self-responsibility, right? Or it might be clients that are looking for a quick fix, okay? They just want to come once. So that is an example. So for example, in my work, even in the Spiritual Marketing Club, I particularly, it's not that I stop healers coming in that are new, but I prefer healers that have been in this industry for a wee while. And I'll tell you why, because they are not as naive, right? And they understand that there's certain things that they have to do in a business, and that often healers that are new come into this industry and they assume that they shouldn't need to pay for advertising or marketing, and they shouldn't really need to play much importance in a lot of business things, that they should just show up and get clients. And they don't realise how important a business model or a marketing model and having a good marketing or, certain things. They don't see that. So I prefer working with healers who have had a bit of experience and sadly often a bit tainted because they understand that it's a lot harder than what they first thought. I also tend to prefer working with advanced healers because they tend to be, not that I'm saying that this is a generalisation, but they are more likely to be more self-aware and have done a lot more deeper work. So my work in the Spiritual Marketing Club is not just about marketing, it's about helping people go really deep and do a lot of self-exploration, because it's all about not just about helping people market, but actually unlocking, identifying a lot of their gifts and what they're really here to do. So my work it goes a lot deeper, and some people that are just new to the industry are just finding their feet, so that they're maybe not ready for that yet. Okay, so when you know your ideal client and you know who's not, and then you start to have conflict where people are trying to persuade you to give them something for free, or they say, well, I don't really have the time to do that, or I don't have the energy to do that, or really I'm not paying, I don't believe I should have to pay for that, right? What you've got to recognise at that point, and you have to be firm within yourself and think, right, okay, this is not my ideal client. They're not in the same wavelength. Now I'm going to give you some examples of common examples that I find quite interesting. So not that long ago, it was several months at the beginning of the COVID, I attracted someone, a young person that had done a coaching course. It was a college coaching course, a sort of basic coaching course. I think it was a 6 month or something. And that person was starting out and was really struggling to attract anybody any interest at all in anything that she was offering. And she was charging £150 a month, £150 a session, right? But I remember her really criticising a course that I was offering, and I think it was about 4 or 5 modules. It was quite detailed modules, right? And I was selling the course at an introductory at £44. What she didn't realise, the content that was in that had actually cost me thousands to learn, and I was taking bits that someone that was a novice maybe wouldn't notice. The small things are actually the important things. And I realised that on some level, by offering it so cheap, that I really had done myself a disservice. Now, I will highlight to everyone and most people that know me, no matter your perception, I am definitely not someone that is, money is not my motivating factor. And that's actually often been my biggest downfall, because I am someone that when I've done training, I've invested in the best, and I'm someone who's got behind me in my healing, coaching, therapy. I have training that's worth tens of thousands of pounds, and I've also got marketing training that's worth tens of thousands of pounds behind me as well. I was someone that 22 years ago, I started getting into website design. I started to study SEO, and I went through that over the last 20 years. As I was running my business, I studied many different forms of digital marketing, and I always tended to follow as much as I could the experts, right? So it wasn't like, wee Mary or wee David, who's just set up his marketing thing. He's done a wee course and he's running a Facebook challenge. It's not like that. Most people that I've invested have made that I've tried to follow the people that are the experts, right? Now, I am not an expert in everything, of course I'm not, right? And my main strength in my spiritual marketing club is branding, is helping people create a theme and get their energy across through branding, and I bring a bit of spiritual and archetypal branding and marketing. My downfall is I'm not a great copywriter, right? I am not a great copywriter, but I am very gifted at helping people unlock a lot of their strengths, their gifts that they can't see, their skills, and often helping them really see their purpose, right? And market to the ideal client, so that part of that, I can really help them see their niche and see the clients that they're best suited to serve, right? And that's the clients that are willing to work with me, and they really want to, that's important to them. They don't want to just work with anybody. They want to work with the clients that they best serve, and that's who my ideal client. My ideal client is not people who just want a quick fix, who just want to just pay for something and just get it done, okay? My clients are not people that do not want to take the time to do it. My clients are not people that do not realise the value of what I offer, and the value in the time and energy and the training that I've done. That's not my ideal client. So who's not your ideal client? Okay. So, every single one of you will have not just an avatar, but it's about you focusing on someone that you know is your perfect client, someone that you may already have. And the key is often they have similar values to yourself and have similar ideologies, okay? But do not compromise yourself around people that are not your ideal client, who want you to pull you down to match them, okay? And one of the things that reminded me, when particularly this coach, she was very naive and she had no experience. And it was funny because I realised also on some sort of level, when I asked her a lot of questions, I asked her what she invested in, and she said she didn't actually invest anything. The coaching course was the first thing that she'd invested in, and the way that she spoke, I mean, I can't be 100%, that the way she spoke is as if it was paid for her or something. So it wasn't a huge investment, there was nothing really an outlay there. And I actually asked her, so what would you invest in? And she more or less kind of said, well, nothing really. So right away, that question said to me, if someone is expecting other people to invest a certain amount, but they won't invest in that amount themselves. There is something far wrong. And it reminded me, quite a few situations I found out, but I remember one particular situation many years ago, and I was talking to this body worker, and she was telling me that she really struggled to get clients to come back, or they said that they enjoyed the session, but she says, I want people to come like 4 weeks in a row, and I can't seem to get that. And I'm lucky if these people come back once every 6 months. So I said to her, so what interested you about this sort of work? So she's always been interested. And I had sort of whatever it was, back problems, and I had injuries. So I said, so what did you do, and how much money did you invest to help yourself with massage and that? And she went, I couldn't afford it, and I just wouldn't invest my money in that. Right? So right away, that said to me, she did not seem to have any real deep appreciation or value for what she was actually offering. So she was trying to sell something that she wouldn't invest in and had never invested in. And this is where sometimes when we talk about alignment, that is the type of alignment that's out. And alignment comes in all sorts of formats in business. It's like I don't see as much now, but many years ago I used to see healers they're trying to put their business and try and sell in their service at premium level, but they were actually marketing on a free, really cheap looking website, and it looked awful. So they were trying to give this image that they were a premium service and their service was a premium service. But on the top of this website, it actually said free, right? Free website. Now that's not congruent. It's not congruent. So some of you are doing this you might have another job and you just you love what you do and you like to do this as a part-time job around your other job, right? And you maybe look at more as a hobby. Some of you know this without a doubt is your purpose, and I mean, a lot of people who give up so much financial security, they give up their home. I see people who've gave up everything to do this and left a home to go into rented accommodation, a home they own, to put all their investment in to bring in their business forward. Everyone's different. And I'm certainly not saying that and encouraging anyone to do that, but what I'm saying is everyone has different motives why they're here. The more that you understand who your ideal clients and who they're not, and who you do not want to work with, okay, the clients that are very challenging, you can actually, in your marketing, make sure that your marketing is not completely aimed at them. So one of the things that I've been doing my copy for the new membership, right? Well, it's actually the same membership. It's just the course, some of the course and the training's upgraded and things. But I've been doing copy for that, and I've been making it very clear in my copy who my membership is not for. And one of the things that's been interesting, which sadly is a big thing in this industry now, is that I attract in a lot of my I suppose, newsletters and other content, I tend to attract other coaches or other marketing mentors, particularly at this side, people who just want a nosy to see what you're actually doing and looking for ideas, right? So my membership is not for VAs. It's not for virtual assistants. It's not for marketing gurus or marketing mentors. It's strictly for healers, because it's not just marketing. And we do a lot of things that would only align with an actual healer, someone that was a trained healer, works with energy in some sort of capacity. So the reality is, I do not want other people in that group that is not going to be aligned, is going to completely come from the same, the same page, because that is not going to be a supportive community. So I want people to all come into that group with the same purpose, with the right intent, the pure intent, and that they all have similar beliefs, or and they can have obviously slight variations in beliefs, but what I mean is probably more similar values and ethics. So that is what's really important to me. So what is important to you? and what do you definitely not want to attract, and what can you do when you're writing in your copy. So it could be this course. If you're writing a program, you could be saying this program is not for clients who just want a fast track solution. This program is not for clients that want just a magic wand, who won't do the work. This client is this, course is not for, it's not for people who are not committed. And that doesn't mean that the person, it might be they just don't have the time to be committed. I was kind of was in a group, and she was selling a copy course, and I've bought a lot of copy training and copy content for top copywriters, and I was curious about this person's copywriting, and some of it's quite interesting, but some of it is definitely not aligned with the type of work that I do. But she was offering a 10-week coaching on copywriting, and it was about £2,000, right? And it was a lot of money. But the reality was, I was not also fit to, or had the time and energy to commit to that 10 weeks. It was going to be quite intensive. I've got a lot doing. So it was a lot of money. And at the end of the week, the 10 weeks for £2,000 for to learn how to copyright is actually not expensive. That's actually a deal sheet. Someone that's a copywriter, that's a fantastic copywriter, that's a really powerful gift in your business, right? And it's worth its weight in gold. But the reality is, writing like that is not my strength. And I really said to myself, well, I can't be an expert in everything as well, and we can't do everything. But the reality was, I wasn't an ideal client because I wasn't fully committed to that. I knew it wasn't my strength, and I was probably better leaving that well alone. I had already got a certain course that would be fine for me, and get other people to help me with copywriting that I know that are copywriters. Okay, so sometimes it's about, you've got to know what your clients want and need, and who is and who's not. I am not that person's ideal client if I'm not committed, and if I don't want her specifically. Just like if you do not want me specifically, and you do not believe in my values or ethics, or do not believe in my charges, or do not believe in the way that I do things, you're not my client, and that's okay. And that's the same for you. So you've got to really understand who's your ideal and who's not your ideal client, who's going to value, or who is just, if you're going to keep getting people who expect freebies or expect you to do more or just to adjust to them, they're not your ideal client. And believe me, it creates lots of problems. And it can be it can be like a vampire sucking the energy out of you, because what happens, there is no clear value. There's no a clear value of exchange. It's not a proper exchange, especially if you know the value and you have been someone that has dedicated themselves to something. You know the value of your product or service. You know that you're coming from the right intent. And if someone else is not valuing that, it's their problem, not yours. Okay, so remember, you need to know who's not your ideal client. And if you would like to, read a little bit more about this, check out my who's not your ideal client blog. Okay, bye for now.